Hi everyone! I'm here today to talk about the difference between responding and reacting. Many of you have come back asking me, Pam, when do we respond? When do we react? Why do we react instead of responding if responding is, so easy, or it should be the norm? And what are the benefits of responding instead of reacting to people, to situations, or to various instances that we come across in daily life? So let's get started. To begin with, let's start with the definition. Not an Oxford definition, because you can go on Google and read that, but just to simplify the definition, to point out the difference between what responding is and what reacting is. Reacting is something very instinctive. It's thoughtless. You don't give too much thought before you react to something. So it's basically an action in response to another action. Responding, on the other hand, is deliberate. It's conscious, and therefore it's very thoughtful. So when do we react? And why do we react? A lot of the times we react in a situation of danger, when we feel threatened. That could be a huge flame in front of us, or a pouncing ferocious animal coming towards us, or when we're faced with dangerous situations where we're standing in the middle of the road not noticing anything, and instinctively from the corner of our eyes we notice a car coming towards us and we jump out without giving it too much thought. So a reaction in these situations is for our survival, and that's how our primitive brain always depended on it. To survive. We don't want to stand in the face of danger and think about, should I jump to the left or to the right, or should I try and fly over this danger, or lay really still? We just do what comes to us naturally and in that very moment. That's what reaction is. Unfortunately, we tend to use this in our daily lives, because our brain tends to think that when we're in a situation that has triggered an emotion within us, that has kind of gotten us angry or upset, or it is making us very sad, or we're facing grief, we kind of process this in our brains, in the primitive side, as a dangerous situation. And so we don't think before we talk, or think before we act. We react. We don't respond. We react when we feel threatened, and this instinctive behavior becomes habitual. The next time we're faced with danger, we don't think back to, what did I do the last time when I was faced with such a situation? We instinctively and habitually get into that autopilot mode, and then we just react. We just do the thing we naturally do in response. You touch a hot pan, you're not going to give it two thoughts about, is this feeling really ticklish, or is it a sensation of, burn? And should I now get my hand off this hot pan, or should I wait and see if maybe I'll have a separate reaction? It's not that way. The other thing we usually do when we want to react is when we feel triggered, when we feel like we are being cornered, or we're being insulted, or it's our perception that the other person has said something to demean us or hurt us or upset us, we don't give it too much thought. We feel that we should come up with a very equipped response in order to hurt them. And that's a reaction. As much as we say it's our response to the situation, it's not. We didn't give it too much thought. The instinctive response is to react with something that hurts them in turn, whether or not they intended to hurt us, or it was our perception of being hurt. So now let's talk about, when do we know that we want to respond rather than react? You may do any one of the following things, or all of the following things. You may have a regret about the way you behaved, or a sort of a regret about what you said or didn't say. Sometimes we look back and we think, I should have said that, or why didn't this quick response come to me when I could have said this, and really punch them in the gut with my words. You may also be analyzing why you yelled so much and probably threw stuff around because you were a little out of control when you dealt with the emotion of anger. Or probably you walked away and chose to protect yourself, and in hindsight you're analyzing that you should have at least said something. You should have at least, revealed how you felt without having to insult the other person, but actually tell them honestly that, hey, what you just said was not right and that really upset me. And so now you're analyzing that you should have actually said something rather than walk away in anger or whatever the emotion was at that time. You also probably would be analyzing why you raised your hand on someone or a child, because you were angry and you feel regret about it, and you wish that instead of having an instinctive response of hitting them, you could have actually responded with more thought and thereby prevented the assault. When you know that you could have done better, that's when I would say that you reacted instead of responded. So before we get into how we can go about responding, let's think about some of the ways in which responding is beneficial than reacting. With responding, you can choose how you want to feel. I'm not talking about emotion, and I will have another video to talk about the differences between emotions and feelings. But trust me, when you take the time to respond, you can actually take the time to choose how you feel. Isn't that great? That's a superpower everybody would love to have, isn't it? The second thing you would do is you would allow yourself to tell your brain, that primitive side of your mind, that you're not in danger. You're actually not in danger. You're not facing a life-threatening situation and you're not about to die. So take a step back, ride the wave of this emotion and think about how you want to respond in the next 5, 10 minutes, an hour, or even the next day. There is no delay period for responding to something. And finally, there is almost no time for a reaction. It just comes out, and then you're like, I should have just held my tongue. But with a response, you can take as long as you want, and that's why the phrase sleep on it, because you can literally have 24 hours to sleep on something that's been on your mind, and before you respond, you can take that long and no one's going to question you. When I was talking about riding the wave of your emotion, an emotion lasts for simply 60 to 90 seconds. You feel the sensations in your body, but it can feel like it's eternal. It can feel like it is such a drag and it's going on for so long that it's better to just repress it because it's unpleasant and we don't like to feel it. But trust me, riding the wave of your emotion is much better than repressing it, because the aftermath of repressing your emotion is not pretty. It's not something you want to deal with. It's not something people around you would want to deal with. So, yeah, think about that. The other thing that responding helps rather than reacting is with the fact that you are able to respond in your own time and then be done with it. You don't have to dwell on that thing that irritates you or is nagging at the back of your mind. How many times have you gone through life thinking about a fact probably from a month, a year, or 10 years ago, and are still thinking about a better way that you could have responded? When you respond to something, whether it's someone's actions, whether it's someone's words, whether it's your own situation in life, whatever you're dealing with, when you respond to it, no matter however long it takes you, once you respond, you're done. Your mind literally goes, check, because you've dealt with it. You're done with it. There's no reminiscing and chewing on the same topic over and over again, causing you grief. And who doesn't want that? The other benefit about responding rather than reacting is that you always have a lesson to take away from it. And it's a good one. It's one where you realize, I did this in this situation. I don't have to think back and think, oh, I could have done better, because that means you reacted and you didn't respond. But this also means that you don't have a cookie cutter reaction to any future events. And that's a huge lesson. If someone says something smart alecky to me, I can have a quick, sarcastic, witty response, which could probably hurt them a little bit, because that's the intent of sarcasm. Or I could just smile and not respond, and that way they think, oh, you know what, fine, she's not interested, or whatever it may be. But it's not going to be the same thing every time, because then I slip into this autopilot habit of not having to give it a thought and just being quick with my reaction, irrespective of the situation, irrespective of who the person is, irrespective of what the event demands of me. And that is not something we want to be on. That is not something we want to get in the habit of doing. And so one of my major tips for responding rather than reacting is consciousness, awareness. People often ask me, Pam, I can't be aware 24/7. It's not that you can't. It's that we have practiced so much of functioning on autopilot that it comes to us naturally, that being conscious becomes hard work. It's not that you can't, it's we choose not to. Because if we are on autopilot, that means we can let our minds wander. We can blame ourselves for not paying attention because we were having a thought about the past or a thought about the future. We often miss out on various things because we're not consciously present in the moment. And when you are consciously present in the moment about something that is going on within you, outside of you, around you, you can always respond. So if you want to first practice how to respond, you need to be able to be in the present moment. And the way you can be in the present moment is to consciously just be aware. Every time my mind wanders, wait, what was it that I was doing? Every time you're watching television and your mind goes into a thought process mode because something on the television reminded you of something else, you're no longer present, right? In order to respond, you need to be present. It's when you stop being present and you allow your mind to slip into your primitive mind, that's when you react. So I hope this makes sense, and I talk a lot about it in my book, Cracking the Happiness Code, links in the description below. You don't have to buy the book. I'm just saying that if you would like to have a comprised version of everything that my videos will be talking about, I've added it as topics in my book, so whatever is easy for you. I will be looking to make another video on emotions versus feelings, but if you have any other comments or ideas that you'd like me to talk about, feel free. As always, all the best with mastering your mind.